Hi you guys, so we are in chapter 8 and this is lesson 5. We are now going to figure out how we find the least common multiple in order to compare fractions. So comparing fractions is lesson 6, but I'm essentially combining lesson 5 and 6 because they both relate to each other. We find the least common multiple by doing certain steps that I'll show you, and that's going to help us figure out how to compare fractions. So just like we compared numbers, right? What is 3 compared to 1? 3 is bigger than 1. Well, what if we're comparing fractions here? What is 3/5 compared to a half? So what we're going to do is we're going to find the least common multiple. When we find the least common multiple, you have to find it with the denominators. So we're working with the denominators for this. So we have the denominator of 5 and 2. So I'm going to draw a big M because M represents multiple. Put your 5 over here and your 2 here. Remember, those are the denominators. Now, multiples means you multiply up. You're going to multiply up until they match. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10, 15, 20. I'm going to stop. Let's go over the 2's. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 9, 12. Do they have a match yet? They do not. And I'm sorry, I was doing this wrong. I was thinking 3's. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Do they have a match? They do. What number do they both share? The least, smallest, common, what they share, multiple, multiplying up. They both share 10. So that means I need 10 as my denominators. How did I get from a 5 to a 10? Okay, so this is what we do. So you're going to rewrite the fractions by getting 10 as your denominator. Well, how do I change a 5 into a 10? I got from a 5 to a 10 by multiplying it by 2. So you're going to multiply this fraction, top and bottom, by 2. 3 times 2, let me write it this way, is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10. See, now I have that least common multiple at the bottom. How do I get from a 2 to a 10? I multiplied it times 5, so I got to multiply the top and bottom by 5. So 1 times 5 will give me 5, and 2 times 5 will give me 10. Now do you see why it's easier to compare? Because now I have the same denominators, which means now I can say, is 6 bigger, smaller, or equal to 5? It's bigger. So the symbol will go like this. All right. So I know that was a lot and kind of quick, but let's talk about what we did. The original problem said, what is 3/5 compared to 1/2? I cannot compare fractions. It's hard for me when they have different denominators, right? I want equal amounts so I can figure out which is bigger, which is smaller. We were able to do that here, but how did we change the denominators? We changed the denominators by finding the least common multiple. Draw your big M, put your denominators there, and start multiplying up until you find their first match. Their first match was 10. So you need to change the denominators into a 10. And we did that by multiplying them and then getting our new fractions, and then we can compare. So let's go ahead and see another example. All right, so let's say I have the following two fractions. Let's say I have 1/5 and 1/3. What is 1/5 compared to 1/3? I have no idea. I need the same denominators. So draw your M. Write the denominators. So I have a 5 over here and a 3 over here. Start multiplying up until they match. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. Let's go over to my 3's. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 12, 15. What's the first match? 15. Okay, so what does that mean? That means I want my denominators to be a 15. So how do I change a 5 into a 15? I multiply it by 3, And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top of the fraction. And then how do I get a 3 into a 15? How do I change a 3 into a 15? I multiplied it times 5. So I got to multiply the top and bottom. So now you multiply and you get your new fractions. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. Now I can compare. So notice the denominators are now the same. That was what our least common multiple was. And now I can say, what is 3 compared to 5? It's less than, so our less than symbol will go in. Let's do one more, and then you guys should be good to go. And you guys can always watch this again. You can pause at any time to help yourself. All right, let's go ahead and compare 2/3 to 7/10. So draw your M. I have a 3 and a 10, and I want to know what they share, okay? The least common multiple. Well, let's see. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. So I gotta either get a 10, a 20, or a 30 over here. Well, I know 3 is not a multiple of 10, right? Because if I go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Well, what's the first number they match? It's actually 30. That did take me a little bit longer over here, so don't stop until you get a match, and it happens to be 30. So that means you need to change both of these denominators into a 30. How do I get from a 3 to a 30? What do I multiply it by? I multiply it times 10, which means I have to multiply that top times a 10. And then how do I change a 10 into a 30? I had to multiply it times 3, which means I have to do the same to the top. So let's rewrite our fractions. 10 times 2 gives me 20, and 10 times 3 is 30. And this new fraction is 21 over 30. Now let's compare, because I have similar denominators. What is 20 compared to 21? It's less than, so the less than symbol is going to go there. All right, you guys, I hope that helps you. Be sure to watch it again if you need more help.